We do get that here. Looks like our pick ban thing is struggling to come up. There it is. Okay, getting started now.
Thanks for that, Valdez. Will we just see Urgot first pick, Sion response? That's kind of been the way we've seen so far. First pick blue side, first pick blue side, Urgot into Sion at Summit's pick, and then the flex potential of both those picks. Or we see adjustments, and we do. Look at this, Gen G have been the first team so far to ban Sion. Sion hasn't been banned so far in the LCK, but has been a reliable flex pick, if not always a victorious champion. Cassiopeia, the final ban for Gen G. Finding a good pick for Fly and a pressure lane for Fly is something you mentioned in the opening, Valdez, and it's something I think Gen G need to work on, because to me, he was one of those passengers in that first series a couple of days ago against Damwon. His Aurelia didn't convince, and his Zoe is usually banned away, but it seems like Galio duty for the first time here, even though we did see a first pick top lane Galio from KT yesterday.
Yeah, you get a lot of tanks. You fit them into whatever lanes you can, whatever makes sense for the matchup. The Galio into the Ryze made sense for that game. I think we were all just happy to see a Ryze in the top lane instead of a Sion. But either way, the Lucian has been banned in 9 games. That was a stat I was looking at. This time, it's not going to be banned. And so picking up the Urgot and the Lucian here is SANDBOX Gaming.
I mean, you would imagine this is a very calculated choice by Gen G, because look at the nameplates here. Remember, this is Ghost, a player who heavily struggled on BBQ Oliver's when we saw him last year. I'm sure this is Ruler would have a big command of the shot calling and the pick bans here, given his status on Gen G as that true hyper carry, saying, I can deal with Ghost's solution. So with the nameplates on, will they be able to deal with it? Because it seems like Gen G are happy enough to accept what seems to be once again the premier duo. And it's the premier duo that they were so famous for, whether it was Ruler and Core JJ, or into this season, Ezreal Tom Kench has been an evergreen for Gen G.
Sejuani showing her face again. That's not a big surprise. This time on Fleek will be playing that one. So you fans of Peanut out there that want to see him on a more aggressive pick, there is a chance here, as he did have the Sejuani picked away from him. No doubt SANDBOX could look to ban some of the stuff in the jungle as well, but we'll have to wait and see where they do go from there. Another interesting stat was Tom Kent. He has been played 5 times, and he has won every single game. 5-0 so far is Tom Kent, so Gen G banking on that a bit.
He's in that ultra comfort with his best friend Ezreal as well. So definitely, when it comes to pick bans, a very solid first round for Gen G. And the happy thing is, it doesn't really show anything. We know that Ezreal Tom can scale and is either winning lanes or kind of going 50-50 in most of them. The Galio, the very reliable ability to join, has always been prized there. But tier list-wise, you'd love what SANDBOX has got as well. 3 strong champions. Waiting for the second round to really take full control here. First round jungle in Sejuani. You only get 2 bans, and Sejuani opens so many different flavors of answer. You can go for a scaling choice, you can go for an aggressive choice, and you can kind of straddle the line and go for comfort. It would be no surprise for Peanut to go for Lee Sin, and it is interesting that with 2 bans to Levy, neither of them is at Peanut's respectable Lee Sin.
Olaf seeing a bit of play, and has been noted that he is quite strong by multiple junglers nowadays, and especially against Sejuani, has so much lockdown. Could be a good choice, so they take that away. And Kha'Zix's also pretty high on the tier list, but Zoe Lissandra going to be taken away from Dove. They decide to target the mid laner. Dove, as you mentioned, one of those strong players on the side of SANDBOX to look out for.
Seems like Dove will leave his pick for last, or potentially Summit. Opening up with that last pick there. Is Thresh going to be preferred to something like the Braum? Playing with fire a little bit, because definitely there is that scenario where Ezreal gets going, starts throwing down the ultimate. You have no real answer barring an all-in. And Camille's left open now. But one of the reasons for this is it's not traditionally a Peanut champion. Peanut does not usually default to the Camille, usually prefers other champions. Could be a Roach pick. He's played that in the top lane before. We'll get the full confirmation very shortly. But they have the Camille. Does seem like Peanut will be picking it up. So we'll see if Peanut can perform on the Camille, because definitely, if Gen G want to start a fight, they have the tools to do so.
Yep, the Galio Camille Everybody knows what that's all about. They have a nice amount of damage in the Victor top lane as well. And Kalista comes in. Kalista Thresh making its return. And that also puts Lucian out of the bottom lane into the mid lane.
And it slides into a very comfortable lane. This is the matchup where Shia was solo killing Faker a couple of years ago, as it's always been a farm lane specifically into Galio. However, we already saw our first Galio top. Let's wait till 20 seconds to fully understand all the machinations of this draft, but we'll focus on what we do know. Finally, our first Kalista. 9.1 Kalista was adjusted. Now, it's not necessarily a true buff or a true nerf outside of less ability to secure those objectives. We roll on to 20 seconds. Farm lane for Dove. I like what SANDBOX has done. This is very intelligent use of that 5th last pick on the red side.
Yeah, you gotta love it. I mean, it's really smart. It's a good way to come into game one and throw a real curveball against a team that should be stronger than you on paper. Now, they do have to execute. They still have to go up against Galio Camille that could just pounce on one of those 80 carries and try to take him out immediately. So if they could make this kind of curveball work, that would be even more exciting.
And execution-wise, I have a question to ask, which is yesterday's one-day meta was everyone taking teleport, specifically even a Sivir in the bot lane. Would Kalista ever take teleport? Is there a possibility that you can be caught in rotation if you go for a more selfish summoner? We'll get that confirmation when we get into game. There's a lot of little things going on here, but overall, at least draft-wise, big thumbs up to the SANDBOX drafting staff. They pulled off a really interesting one that also makes sense given the 1v1 matchups and the overall team fight.
Yeah. Bot lane looks good. Kalista Thresh put down there. And then you got Lucian in the mid lane against Galio. But guys, it looks like enough of that. Game one is going to start right now. Gen G up against SANDBOX Gaming. Gen G understandably getting the louder cheers as a team that has been around longer here in the LCK. But SANDBOX getting one of their own as well, slowly looking to build up their fan base as one of the newcomers here to LCK. I, for one, am very excited, especially after this cool Game 1 draft.
Now, SANDBOX, because they've gone for the Lucian mid-flex, do not have a lot of magic damage. And you might look at Gen G's comp and say, okay, tabbies can come out, some armor can be built. It isn't really champions that can stack armor. There will be an Iceborne Gauntlet onto Roach. That'll come in at some point. Fly, you don't usually really fit in a lot of armor into the current AP Mage mid lane Galio builds, and Camille's usually a pretty squishy build as well. What that basically tells you is there's very unlikely to be a hard timer where you say, okay, 30 minutes, we're done. Kind of like the old days where Mundo against WD would eventually just outscale as a champion on his own. However, if you fall into a 5,000 to 10,000 gold disadvantage, Valdez, then there is the real chance that just a Chain Vest will undo a lot of what SANDBOX has put together. And over a team fight, WD, a smaller front line than we're used to. It's nice to see some innovating. It's nice to see that we still do have each team with a different read on the meta rather than just one way to play the game 3 match days in.
Yeah, I mean, I said it coming into the draft. I was saying tanks, 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 and that's kind of what it was for the first couple of days that we have had here at the LCK, but not just so here in this game. Peanut looking towards the bottom side, but they should have seen the ward placed.
He wasn't spotted on vision. Very nice to skirt around the vision about as much as possible. I believe the Sejuani has all the information there, though, so no harm, no foul. So there is going to be the reveal there, despite the nice vision toggle.
Yeah, Flake just goes back to farming. They put down 2 wards down in the bottom river just to make sure they would have the information about that.
But you put it all together, 2 wards plus the jungle being revealed. It's Camille with a skirmishing advantage over Sejuani. That means if Ezreal and Tahm Kench play the lane the way they want to, they get the level 2. Kalista and Thresh will have to pull back for now. But when Kalista Thresh gets going, that perennial problem, Valdez, of just who do you invade? Who do you attack if you gank this lane? Because both of them are super slippery, and if you got no Hextech ultimatum, there's no way to pin them down.
It's very true. Double sliding 80 carries, the Ice Skaters, Lucian and Kalista.
And Thresh also. Good luck with that one.
It's going to be fun. I like it. It's definitely a kind of high skill comp, I would say. As I was mentioning before, it definitely requires both Dove and Ghost, who's a guy that I haven't been super positive on specifically, to show up and play a really strong game. Feels like Ghost has the talent, but has struggled a little bit in 2018 to deal with some nerves, it felt like. But let's hope that his 2019 gets a little bit brighter here joining SANDBOX.
And meanwhile, what about Peanut, who had a couple of games on the Sejuani? Definitely was the second best jungler on the day, to Canyon, who looked really good in that series against Gen G. He has a lot of agency here because he's on the Camille. We already talked about how the Sejuani is largely going to be trying to shadow what the Camille's doing. But also, he has quite a lot of weight on his shoulders because Fly is going to have an awful time in the mid lane. In the bot lane, plays like this can happen if we do actually see Ghost skate forward, for now at least, not looking to chase forward, doesn't have any deep vision to make a play like that. I think Kalista Thresh will eventually, especially after the first shot, be able to out-trade Ezreal and Tahm Kench, and while there's great lanes for Camille to gank, if he gets counter-ganked and the lane goes badly, the resting state is Lucian having his way with Galio and Kalista Thresh having a great laning phase bot. So the execution here for Peanut is possible, but it needs to be on point, otherwise it could put Gen G in an even bigger hole than they already are.
Definitely feeling good about the SANDBOX draft. Also picking up the Urgot after Gen G decided to first pick the Galio, which is another interesting thing that we didn't really touch on too much. The Galio coming in this time for Fly. Hasn't had the most success on other picks, as you were mentioning, so maybe just putting him on something comfortable. But then unfortunately for him, SANDBOX say, well, you got a lane against a Lucian. And you're going to be down about 13 CS here. So not the easiest start here for Gen G's Fly.
Double Vamp Scepter, double Bay the Ruin King, heavily expected. So, what about that first Baron? That's going to be a very interesting thing to think about there. But that's, of course, much, much in the future. Teleport back to lane. No excitement in that one, unfortunately. It is heal on the Kalista, so remember that. There's always the chance that you go for a late lane swap here, especially if you can get first Drake as Gen G. You can lane swap topside and get Rift Herald and maybe the second turret, maybe not first turret blood, but if you can get first Drake and then you get second turret and the Rift Herald, remember that the actual first turret blood bounty has gone down. 100 gold was trimmed off that. So as long as you're matching things like turret plates, you can actually heavily out-trade like that. And because of the TPs, I'm hoping that's something Gen G is already talking about early in comps.
Yeah, could be 4 TPs up against 1, as the only unsealed spellbook on the side of SANDBOX is the guy that already has the teleport, so no shenanigans there. We don't have a Scuttle Crab counter just yet here on the Riot broadcast, but I'm counting them. It's Camille 3, Sejuani 0. That's kind of the way it is going to be. Also, a nice Ocean Drake could be picked up as the Sejuani, total opposite side of the map, and looks like that should go over the side of Gen G.
And that will be the first part of the plan I was outlining. So let's see if we have a next level on how to play this early game.
Spotted.
And that means Camille, already low health, is going to have to back away. So nice use of the Sentinel there to give the Kalista and the bot side here no chance to give up any resources early in the laning phase. So we talk a little bit about the Kalista changes. Again, the big takeaway is that when it comes to base stats, and also specifically stats when the Oathsworn, which is Thresh in this game, is not right next to the Kalista, they're up. So in that case, the base stats are higher. In the late game, you're losing out on the AD per level upgrade on the W, which is the last ability that you max. So I believe at level 18, stats are lower. But honestly, the game's decided usually way before then, and Kalista is still 2-item powerhouse. Those 2 items have not changed. The order sometimes does, but Blade the Ruin King, Hurricane, that's the core, and a Rage Blade to throw it in there and to really put you over the top when it comes to taking out a pretty tanky front line. So you'll see those 3 items in some order. May also see a Sejuani turret dive very shortly because Smite on this camp and level 6 coming in.
There it is. Roach trying to clear the wave. It looks like he knows something's up, but he can't quite do it. Nice flash to get away from that one, but is the damage there? Double stun by the Chaos Storm, and he is going to be pulled over by Summit. There is the first blood, unfortunately, on Fleek, taking a little bit too much after the double stun, but at least the first blood does go to the Urgot.
A little bit slow on the rotation from Fly, and remember, we're in a punishment meta now. If you ever leave lane with a global, you're going to lose turret plates. I mean, that's going to lose his whole life bar.
Hello. Okay, he's going to flash away from that one. Nearly dies. Has to flash, just protecting the first turret plating. It looks like Dove is off to a fantastic start in the mid lane.
And we'll definitely put the hashtag not worth out there on losing your health bar and flash. Because now when Onfleek comes back out, he's got nothing to worry about. No longer is there going to be piggy hunting season for this Camille. She's going to have to be a lot more defensive, and her gank propensity. And remember, Camille's all about the level 2 and the early ganking. Going to be a lot less respectable with the flash down. That's the cost of using a global to mop up a mess on the top side. You will lose turret plates, and in this case, you lose even more.
Well, bottom side, before the Kalista gets really any items, is going to go the way of Ruler and Life, as we expected. Ruler's Ezreal is pretty insane. How about a follow-up gank on the top side? There's no flash, no Sejuani ultimate. Can they get on top of this Victor? There's the flash from Summit and the red smite.
Goodbye.
They're going for the kill. The double stun isn't going to be enough this time, as On Fleek is going to pick up the follow-up kill onto Roach in the top side.
You can take the aggressive picks away from the aggressive junglers, but you can never take away that aggressive streak. Love the wraparound gank before Glacial Prison is available again. That's a timing that Roach knows, but a timing he couldn't have expected. Very nicely done there from On Fleek to come back again, and pinning down these top lane Ryze, these top lane Victor players on the squishy mages is something that's open to you. And when you got tank junglers like Sejuani, it's always more reliable. Going to do a replay of the first kill here. Again, the fact that the W and the flash away there bought a lot of time for Victor to stay alive. That's why Galio can make it a 1-for-1. So really well played by Roach on that. But when we fast forward to the second kill, Roach sidesteps the first Q. But after this, well calculated by Summit and On Fleek, this new look top lane duo, and they definitely deserve the second kill.
Yeah, Gen Z having a bit of a top lane problem, it seems like, in the first.
SANDBOX coaching staff here, super pumped with that, and they should be. That's the sort of stuff that works in scrims, and it's nice to see them translate it onto the main stage.
Yeah. And Summit, even before the gank did come in, he was winning in CS up against the Victor, so the Urgot pick that they picked up for him after Gen Z let it slide, seemingly looking good for Summit, who's now 1-0-1 and has 96 CS, has almost 30 more than the Victor has currently, as the lane is hitting the turret right now. So good look for him in the top side so far.
As the lane goes on, you do expect Victor, the moment that he gets his death ray upgrade, to outpush the Urgot. No way for Urgot to trim waves as fast as Victor does, so this CS lead should go down over time. But the two ganks obviously do a big assist to delaying that particular timer. That's the only winning lane for Gen G is topside, and like we mentioned, it's after an 1150 gold purchase rather than from level 1. So credit to On Fleek. He had stronger lanes than some of our previous Sejuani jungles, so he hasn't been as punished, and his wraparound ganks topside have led to a lot of benefit. If Gen G could have got that bot lane first Drake into that TP topside player we mentioned, maybe this awkward early game wouldn't have come to pass, but now, still no Drake. And the early game right now is going to be tempo set by SANDBOX.
I mean, it's the second time that Peanut has tried to go for the Ocean Drake. Ocean Drake famously hard to take. I think it's the hardest one, if I'm not mistaken, especially if you're trying to solo it down as a Camille who's not exactly tanky and wastes a lot of time in there, not really helping and not taking any of the Drakes. So kind of unfortunate for Peanut's start here in game 1.
I mean, this Ocean Drake is actually ultra high quality for Gen G. They have a tier stacker in the bot lane, Fly, who right now just wants to queue the minion wave and run away from any Lucian trades, and also a Victor, right, who has his own mana concerns. That's aware for SANDBOX, and Kalista doesn't have to commit anything relevant in order to keep pretty close eyes with those Sentinels onto the Drake. So right now, too predictable from a Gen G side, and now we're seeing Gen G walk up. They don't know Camille is here. Will On Fleek be turned on?
Well, Life coming in and aggressively saving that control ward could give SANDBOX some information if the Tomcats is that aggressive and that confident to go in for the defense. And On Fleek says, no, I'm just not going to go for that gank. I'll just back away. That's all good and fine, but Ruler still doing a number in the bottom side. Chunks out Ghost, and he'll look for his second plating down in the bot turret.
It's such a big momentum shift when Joker shorts his death sentence, as Dove continues to be a jerk to Fly, and at the same time, the two-shot barrage hits the AD carry. That's just the whole lane control gone from both sides. Nothing Ghost can do, and will take a long time with just a Vamp Scepter to lifesteal up. So they're actually losing this lane because Camille has been here pretty reliably, and they haven't found any hooks. Every time that hook's on cooldown, it's a very big cost to the side of Ghost and Joker.
At least he's doing a good job of CSing under the turret from what it seems like right now. Their turret's getting wrecked for sure, but at least he's only down 10 CS. Could definitely be a lot worse for him, so props to him. And now we got On Fleek looking for the Rift Herald, and they know about it.
Yep.
They're pinging him out,
Here we
and
go.
they want to go for a dive in the bottom
There's
side.
no early vision here.
Trying to get on top of Ghost. There is the Hextech ultimatum. Taking a lot of damage here as Ghost. The TP comes in, but the hook out of the Ezreal, and Ghost gets away as Urgot makes his way, and that's a second kill onto the Tom Kench. Thankfully, they drafted the Galio to save one person's life, but will Fly go down? He's got a flash away from it too. An absolute disaster strikes in the bottom lane for Gen G.
And what's going to happen in the mid lane? At the same time, all the turret plays are going to roll down and be picked up by Dove. Unflake says, nope, you're not getting them all, Lucian. We want the turret. They kill the turret, and look at the momentum shift. It's a 3,000 gold lead for SANDBOX.
Oh man, I mean, that's just a huge blow to the side of Gen G.
Are they going to get the inner turret as well?
I mean, it looks like it. Rift Herald's still going strong. They're going to get it very low. On Fleek actually staying really low here. Might actually...
He's still going.
Okay, he's going to flash away, but not sure about that one. Taunt is going to come in. And it looks like the Galio damage will be enough. So, Dove and On Fleek getting real excited, at least did a number to the inner turret.
But you needed that kill just for confidence, Valdez, because right now you're rattled. If you're Gen G, you know that what happened just here could be a game loser against many opponents, and perhaps even SANDBOX Gaming, despite the fact that they are not respected as a true contender. LCK Spring. Hopefully you see the replay of the turret dive, but that was quintessential trying to gank Kalista Thresh. This is a duo that is so hard to pin down. Hextech ultimatum or no. There's no early vision, so this seems like it's going to be an early double kill. But remember, Summon a Heal for the first time we've seen in a while tries to go in on Thresh. That's the wrong target. Always the Kalista is who you want to go in on to actually draw some cooldowns out of. Live turret, tanking the turret just straight up dies before the ultimate can even arm, and it's just a cavalcade of errors on the side of Gen G. Flies out of mana when he joins.
One thing I want to mention, I don't want to pin it too much on a Peanut, but he did have his flash available. He could have flash hookshotted to get the stun onto Kalista and try to burst her down, but opted not to go for that summoner. Still has it here in this frame, and well, it's really unfortunate. As you were mentioning, I think you got to go all in onto that Kalista, and if you don't, stuff like this can happen.
But the worst thing is, Valdez, is that there's the micro mistake. Peanut going for the Thresh, that's not the target, that's a mistake, right? There's also another mistake where Fly, with only enough mana for his ultimate, ults down to try to spare the blushes after two people have died, and then his whole mid lane is destroyed, basically. So that's compounding, actually, a bigger problem. How about a Demolish proc for this turret to go down as the Drake is taken? This is having a cake, eating it too, ordering a pizza. Everything's coming together for the side of SANDBOX, and Gen G already backs against the wall.
Certainly feels that way. Once again, we're in a situation where Ruler is like, come on, team, what's going on? I'm trying
Give me
to
that red
1v9
buff. I need the red
so
buff.
hard, but you're not letting me do it. He has nearly the most farm in the game. Only that super fed Lucian in the awesome lane against the Galio is doing better. And he was winning the lane. He calls for the dive. The dive goes absolutely wrong, not by his fault. He gets out alive, and he's like, come on, team, what the hell?
This is the point where if we look at Ezreal, we should see double buffs on him. As he's like, I'll have the double buffs, thanks very much.
Galio doesn't need that.
You don't get a blue, you don't get a red. Nope,
Nope.
These are all mine now. And you know what? He could still hard carry this game. We know that Ezreal's power level on patch 9.1 is bonkers.
Yeah.
Ezreal is so overpowered on this particular patch, and yet probably not worth the ban. That's the weird part, right? Is he's always going to skirt through the ban phase and be picked. You're going to feel great about it because double tier Ezreal has that Gragas AP ult under turrets where everyone's health bar is vacated. And this is a perfect team to use it against. Lucian and Kalista walk up and want a wave clear. The Ezreal ult at 28 minutes is going to do 2/3 of their health bar alone with Sorcerer's Shoes and most of, I would assume, a Hextech Gunblade on the way. So there's still Ruler hard carrying this game, but man, he's going to have to have his carry pants on already.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same story. Ruler has to carry, and that's not a good look. I mean, you want to have your other lanes doing well, but Roach gets bopped early on. They made sure of that. Did on Fleek and Summit. And then Peanut's not really doing or looking great on the Camille so far. And your Galio, he's 1-0-1, but really rough lane. Wasn't able to help out in either of the ganks, really, which is part of the reason why you do draft that Galio for the mid lane. So definitely unfortunate stuff here, but props to SANDBOX for, good early start and also responding to the game quite well.
But we also need to focus on the fact that because of the full 80 comp, you're 3,000 gold ahead. And, of course, the gold lead is reversed. And we're like, already, oh, no, all full AD, what are they doing in draft? this draft is insanely powerful at 2 items. And 2 items is where SANDBOX needs to get the unassailable leads. We're in a snowball meta. We're in a meta where you can just win the game pre-25 minutes by getting too many Barons, getting too many Drakes, and just the game times have been, on average, being a bit shorter. But until we see that from SANDBOX, you know, this team that previous was Team Battle Comics was promoted alongside Damwon, we need to actually see it in effect is under the turret.
Okay, they're going really deep here onto Ghost, but nice amount of damage on a Peanut. Means he's going to die. He went on a one-way trip alone, really trying to spare the blusters of his team. Now the rest of everybody who joined died, and Tom Kent ran, or it looks like Fly randomly goes down on the top side. SANDBOX is just seeing the mistakes and saying, thank you very much, let's order another pizza.
I was about to say, Valdez, can you hear the door? Is that the pizza delivery guy? Because I think the pizza just arrived. They got the kill off screen as the turret dive failed from Peanut. That turret dive reeked of desperation, Valdez. Already, they know how far behind they are, but they're putting themselves in a bigger hole. Gen.G wanted a new identity, but they seem to be fumbling trying to put together that new, more aggressive identity. And all that's left is Ruler, 0, 0, and 0, surveying the madness around him.
If this is solo queue, Ruler's the guy that's furiously spamming the chat and being toxic, no doubt. But Peanut, he tries to make it work too much. The flash, he gets in range, misses the hook shot stun.
All you need to know is that Peanut flashes into a hook shot under a full turret dive, and Ezreal, one of the most maneuverable champions, can't get any damage to help him. This is the equivalent of the Malphite flash ulting over a wall and everyone else saying, but I couldn't close the distance. This was the meanwhile at, by the way, as on Fleek, Fly is just looking for an ult in the mid lane, right? That's what he's shaping up for, but he's caught here. He doesn't have the river control to make that sort of a play. If you're ahead, that play's fine because the enemy can't just be lurking for the gargoyle. The enemy is lurking, and now the gold lead's over 5,000.
Where did it all go wrong? Ghost, I was saying, hey, buddy, you're kind of out of position here. You had to flash, but then Peanut just lobs him another cupcake and say, here, have this, eat that too. He's now 2-0-2 on Kalista, and another champ that's just so hard to dive. I mean, that's not the guy you're diving, right? Do that on a Varus or on, you know, a Jhin or something. Not on Kalista.
And we know Peanut is a very aggressive jungler as a trade, right? We're talking about 4 years of play. And yes, I have said many times this season already that the past means very little. The thing I want to refer to is, despite his reputation, Peanut's only ever played 2 games of pro jungle Camille. It's actually a pick he's never gone to. Whenever I would ask Gorillo, a good friend of mine, no longer on King's Zone because an old teammate, over 2 teams with Peanut, about why do we never see Camille, he was always saying, I just don't think Peanut's Camille is LCK tier. I don't think that's the pick he shines on. Nidalee, Lee Sin, etc. Yes.
Yeah.
But the Camille doesn't work. The Camille is something he's been working on a lot in solo queue. I think he's had some very good games in solo queue. But right now, under the lights, when his team's behind a bit, his decision-making's been too aggressive, and already there's been a desync between Peanut and the rest of Gen.G.
I mean, anyone that's played with the Camille that's had a rough game or has just seen a game like this knows that Camille has the potential to go for insane dives and pull off some insane stuff. One of the best, highest mobility champions in the game. You can hop walls and then Hextech Ultimatum and do all this crazy stuff, but if you can't put the reins on yourself and, you know, hold yourself to on a certain leash and, you know, have that self, restraint, then sometimes, as we see here, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. And already he's in trouble. 0-2 has to go for the kind of tankier builds here with that Zorm's Fist. We'll see if he can do a little bit better as the mid-game pushes along here now.
And there's definitely the emergency builds for a Camille, Sterix Gage, Guardian Angel. All these builds let you frontline and try to be at least an ultimate, if not more than that. It's kind of what you have to do in these scenarios. But zooming in on where the game state is at, now we're scared about us. Now the items are there where Lucian and Kalista say, hey guys, I've got my core and then some. Lucian, second item in the mid lane, is Essence Reaver to just roller skate around a team fight and be impossible to pin down. Kalista already is hopping mad with her build, so this is very much panic station. SANDBOX can really do anything on the map right now, but the question is, what will they choose to do? Because the only mistake is inaction. Any positive action should be rewarded.
Yeah. Just an interesting thing from the gold that we did just see. Lucian's actually ahead of Kalista in gold right now. I would assume that's because he took down you know, basically all the plates. I believe he did with the help of the Sejuani in the mid lane when that debacle happened earlier on in the game. So you can see just how much extra gold you can get with that many plates, even if the Kalista has an extra kill and 2 extra assists and more CS. Lucian's still ahead because of that turret plating.
But Ezreal does have the beginnings of the build that could be that late game carry. Again, SANDBOX would need to make a lot of mistakes for that to be relevant. From my evaluation here, there's so many positive moves they can make. When the clock strikes 35 and no lead is grown by SANDBOX, that's where the problems start.
It does. Well, we're here at 24 minutes, and SANDBOX, they have a stranglehold on a lot of the vision here, and the blue side jungle just trying to clear everything out, see if they can bait anyone into a fight. They do have a nice amount of pick with the Sejuani Thresh, but after that, the 80 carries are going to have to be in position to do that damage. They're being in the Baron. They're thinking about it now.
They have so much Baron damage and so much Baron secure. They have double Blade the Ruin King 80 carry and the potential for double smite. In fact, Summit has the smite right now.
Yeah.
So they take this Baron so quickly, and Gen G need to start rushing in there.
Look at how deep the vision is. Gen G, they're just running through the darkness. Peanut, he's going to be devoured. Thankfully, nice heroic entrance here by Fly is going to stop that Baron, but a nice hook follow-up onto Fly here, but on Fleet getting a little bit too low. That Victor damage finally coming in. Looks like Ruler also trying to get his share of the damage, so nice little fight there by Gen G. They stop the Baron and nearly even get a kill.
A lot of resources used on both sides. The problem with SANDBOX's approach right now is that they're actually all-inning on the Baron. They should be two-man Baroning with either Urgot and an 80 carry or Sejuani and 80 carry, then looking more for the turn. Instead, they were all collapsed on top. I know this sounds weird, but it's actually a mistake for Summit to have the smite because it telegraphs how many times they're going to attempt the Baron. They're back on it now.
And Dove is in the top side, so you may be fooling Gen G, but Gen G, they're no fool. They know it's coming. Joker now in position. Nice little stopwatch there from Roach. Can Fly get in? Gets one stun, but Dove is doing insane damage in the front line and is going to push them back for now. They may even just turn onto the Baron again. SANDBOX, as you mentioned, insane Baron damage.
They do have insane Baron damage, but that doesn't necessarily mean all 5 champions on top of it. Yes, that's the fastest way, but that's not the only way. What SANDBOX need to do is to take a deep breath, go back to organizing their side lanes. If they keep all-inning on Baron, a 50-50 smite happens. Peanut has stolen them before. That could undo all their good work.
Yeah. I feel like we've seen this before. Fly and Peanut are going to spot that lantern, and maybe this is the time they go for it. No, the turn comes on to Fly this time, but Peanut getting into the back line. They're bursting all their damage onto Galio, but it's not enough. Fly going to pick up that first kill onto the Sejuani, but now Life in a bit of a rough spot there. Galio going to go down, but the laser and the Ezreal actually take out Thresh on the backside. Gen G winning that fight 2-1. Some pings onto the Dragon. It's a Mountain Drake.
And we're definitely seeing some of those challenger team tendencies creep into SANDBOX's game. They are far too focused on the Baron. There's many different ways to skin a cat, but right now it seems like SANDBOX are only aware of the all-in plays, and that's allowing Gen G to stay in parity, to not allow the gold lead to change at all. SANDBOX Gaming, again, need to listen to Joker. They need to hear their veteran voice say, let's go back to playing multiple lanes and still make the game about Baron, but not only Baron.
It's the most obvious thing in the world. I mean, 5 members just trying to all in onto this one, and Fly and Peanut, they still have that engaged potential. Galio's actually really tanky. They do a nice job in this fight.
The fight ends up being all about the first target still having access to stasis, and thus Dove and Ghost living very healthily, but not having a front line and not having target acquisition. You're dropping autos with double AD, and that's the problem here. These two should be ripping through the members of Gen G, but there were so many times where they couldn't auto-attack because they were zoned from abilities like the Victor ultimate, like the taunt from Fly, and just Peanut going in and out of a fight. So, once again, rinse and repeat. But they finally no longer have the smite onto Summit, so hopefully they can be more balanced about their next Baron attempt.
Well, they say that, and they ping it again. At least they still do have a lot of the vision, but it looks like there's one ward onto the Baron right now that SANDBOX do not know about. So, well, actually it is going to be stopped out by the control ward. So they do clear that up, and they're looking for a bait now.
Bait is a little bit less realistic because they don't have Smite onto the Urgot. Amusingly, that was the spoiler both ways. They continue to kite back. Watch the formation here from Gen.G. Looking at the flashes, important to note, only available on Ruler, and he already is the hardest person to pin down.
Double flash available on Dove and Ghost. Joker has his, Summit has his, so definitely a nice little lead there.
All right, one check tool is used. That's the Ezreal ultimate down, a very relevant cooldown. Dove and Fly find each other mid lane.
Trying to get on the Ezreal, but that's what the Tom Kench is for. They get the hook here onto Victor, who's put into the death box, and Roach is going to go down. The slow here onto Life is good as well. That should be 2 easy kills onto the side of SANDBOX. Double kill goes over to Ghost, and maybe now is finally the time for Baron.
So much smarter. No longer are they leashing Baron and adding an extra variable. They were much smarter in staying around and eventually catching the ire of Gen.G. They're back on the Baron this time. Peanut is alive. What is their way to interrupt it? Joker is Thresh, but it's not necessarily 100% that he can stop Peanut getting in.
Urgot really tanky. He's going to be the bodyguard here of the Baron. Ghost actually getting knocked up as well. There's that Ezreal ultimate. Summit even getting pretty low on the backside. Hook is going to miss, but the Ren Smite is there. Joker's going to be low. Peanut, but you do get that Urgot ultimate into Ruler in the backside, but they can't quite get onto him. But Fly is going to hop away. Ruler as well, trying to get out of here. And it looks like Life is going to be on top of it, but Baron does go the way of SANDBOX.
Not necessarily the cleanest, but finally they problem-solved their way through what was a situation where they were definitely set up to succeed. It took a few tries. Eventually they calmed down, don't leash the Baron multiple times. They're much more forward positioned here, and actually in the end was all about on fleek. It seems like a prediction there, hard to say, but I believe he was straddling the line in the middle, got one target, it's enough, and this time no stasis, this time no flash. This was the scene of the crime from SANDBOX Gaming, and good result.
Flash still available here on Summit. If he landed that ultimate onto Roach, he might have been able to get a fear onto Ezreal and maybe net themselves an extra kill. Just a small thing. This is kind of the messy fight you were talking about around the Baron. Hook misses, Summit nearly dies. He has to flash away, but then Peanut once again decides, hey, I'm going to go 1v5. Doesn't end up working as he hands over his life alongside of the Baron.
Ren Smite's so much more risky. The Ren was actually at 500 health there. Unsure what the correct timing is or which ability's done first. Probably just a trust fall between the AD carry and the jungler, but zooming in now with the Baron, trying to break the base of their first Baron is SANDBOX. They want to close this game as soon as possible.
That they do, and Ruler desperately trying to carry this team. He's able to get a nice chunk there on a Joker, but he misses with the True Shot Barrage, and it looks like that turret may be falling here. Dove, though, okay, the engage comes in onto Life, the knock-up onto that Tom Kench. He can't even use the Grey Health, and Dove is going to be jumped on here, but he just rips Peanut to pieces as they can't even get his Guardian Angel, and now it looks like Fly is going to meet the same fate. Nice hook as well from Joker, but they're getting really low. They really want to take out Ruler here, who again is desperately trying to carry. They're going to stop the base from going down, but at least the inhibitor is taken by SANDBOX.
Minion wave too far behind, so the game will not end in this push. Important for Gen.G. Still do have Ruler. Bless his heart, 1-0-1. His item build is together. SANDBOX need to recall here, but 7 kills now on the Kalista. He's been able to claim a lot of these kills in these messy team fights. 1,000 gold bounty. Gonna watch the replay here with the Baron, with the Goldie. This is always gonna be possible. The start of the fight's pretty much ideal. Onto Ruler, and then just the Devour there to stop it. Peanut has to dive onto someone, but it's Dove who has the Guardian Angel up and is happy to just rip through Peanut. Right now, just an afterthought in the front line, but the minion wave not being there does stop the game from ending from a Gen.G perspective.
And whenever you're watching these fights, if you're a Gen.G fan and you're struggling, you want them to win, just take a look at Ruler. He's doing pretty much all the damage. I know Roach is helping out a little bit, but he's the one really chunking out targets and nearly taking these fights back to the side of Gen.G. At least he's chunking them down to low, because that's just about all he can do. Baron power play at about 2,400 gold, but they're not done yet. They want to take out another turret here in the mid lane.
This is the dregs of the Baron buff. Look at the top there. It is 5 seconds away. All right. They're going to stop the Baron push here. Let's see if Gen.G can find a way to isolate at least one of the AD carries. If Peanut can just waste the time of, say, Kalista while Ruler rips through a front line, there is still a team fight. about 8,000 gold behind that Ruler can carry. It's not expected, but it is possible, and that's all Gen G deserve after all their misfiring in the early game.
It's the battle of the players that have not died yet. It's Ruler up against, I suppose, Summit and the 280 carries, Dove and Ghost, who have just done an incredible number to the side of Gen G so far. They're extremely confident now, up about 8,000 gold, trying to take out more turrets up on the top side. Not much else to do right now with no objectives on the map.
Crucially, Sejuani is actually the one who's ushering in the minion wave in mid, so that does mean that the pace of this push from SANDBOX is a bit slower. Some of their macro plays have definitely been a little bit rusty, but that's not too surprising for a team that's new to the LCK. See, one more back here. We're getting to closer to 35 minutes, Valdez, and while the gold lead has grown since then, there is always the chance that health and armor, alongside the core damage items, will continue to be pieced together by Gen G. And Gen G are just hoping and praying that one team fight will bail them out. That will be the government bailout they're looking for a couple of years of mismanagement. But we're going to wait and see if that's going to be granted to them. The Callista has the core items. The Lucian has his core items as well. Double Guardian Angel. Going to have to be a masterstroke of a team fight for these double ADs to not decide the fight.
It's all up to Ruler, basically, as we've been saying. He actually has the second most amount of gold. He has incredible farm. They're just putting pretty much everything onto him, and then Roach is handling the super minions in the bottom side. And of course, Ghost has the most gold in the game at 7, 0, and 3. Feeling pretty happy about that.
I'm really hoping this is a return for Ghost, because again, 2018, a very lean year. Was very, very poor on the BBQ Olivers, but had a lot of friends on that team. That team just never really jived, especially in the summer season. He was actually pretty promising laning with Totoro in 2017 on BBQ. On CJ, he was the second big debut that was supposed to save CJ in 2016 behind BDD, and while he's never been able to step out of the shadow of his expectations as a rookie, he's another one of these players who people said was more than what he was showing in the LCK. New year, mental reset, certainly a good start, but he'll definitely want to get a W in the first game of the season because there could potentially be a fight to get many more of those for SANDBOX.
Like the angle here, thank you very much. We're going to see the mid lane plus the Baron, and this time with just more items. Unfortunately, they don't have the Mountain Drake, but they're still going to be able to rip through this one. Peanut nearly going down. Can Peanut get the steal? And nope, the Ren comes in. Is going to go to the side of Ghost. Do they follow up with a fight is the question. Peanut going in. He's diving big onto Dove, but once again, he's going to go down nearly immediately. Fly, he's also going to get Fear Beyond Death here. Has that stasis at least, so the fear does not come in, but it's just all tears here for the side of Gen G, as at least Ruler is going to take out the Big Piggy and the Sejuani. But outside of that, it's all SANDBOX all the way as they get their second Baron and are looking to push mid lane.
Double AD gets to fight front to back, and it's not late enough for the armor to be there. It's not late enough for it to matter. And SANDBOX Gaming will upset Gen G in the first game of this series.
They'll pick up an extra kill on the backside, and both these 80 carries, neither Guardian Angel goes down. And Ruler, once again, very sad. He hasn't died in this game. He is trying his hardest to go 1v9, but it just doesn't feel like he can. After multiple games in a row, now he's going to be hooked. Will he die? Is the caster curse real? Yes, it is. He is going to go down. As SANDBOX, now 18 kills in this game, are going to take game number 1 as they take the Nexus away from Gen G.
Really well-deserved victory from the side of SANDBOX Gaming. You saw some of the rough Baron setups, you thought, oh no, will this be the team debuting in the LCK falling despite all their good work in the early game? Eventually the answer was no. I think their Baron setups are going to be a pretty extensive VOD review, but it's no surprise that SANDBOX Gaming's first game stepping up from challengers is not going to be the cleanest. Gen G need to reset their mental. They need to throw game 1 into the rubbish and try something new. Nothing came together in the early game around Ruler, and by the end, there were just too many passengers on the Gen G hype train. They need a fresh start, and this is not it. And that's 3 losses in a row to open up for the Kesper Cup runners-up in Gen G.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Gen G. I think a lot of us would like to throw that Gen G early game in the trash where it does belong, because that is not what you want to see from a top-level LCK team. They need to shore it up, get Peanut onto the Lee Sin or something that he's comfortable on, not the Camille, Have them have a stronger early game, and hopefully they can come back in game 2.
Again, just not looking comfortable here, these players. That's the big struggle they're seeing. Unfortunately, the synergy that was there, remember, we saw them step up in great performance in the Kesper Cup. Suddenly it is feeling like the off-season curse of the off-season not always translating so cleanly into the regular season. Gen G needs to start winning, otherwise they'll exit week 1. This is their last fixture of week 1. 0-4, and just way off the pace already.
Yeah, and it's up against the 2 new teams, right? It's up against Tom1 and SANDBOX Gaming. So, as you guys can see, the 1v9 was real, but unfortunately it did not amount to a win.
34.1k damage, and yet couldn't make an imprint in the game because you need more than just one. This definitely does feel like the 80 carry meta meme game, but on the other side, they had 2 of them, and 2 of them worked out pretty well, and we should return to the draft. It was a really sexy move to flex that Lucian to last pick, bring us our first Calista of the season, and when it all comes together, you leave it smiling and saying, there's more about SANDBOX than we could have predicted.
Red side looked good. I can't wait to see what they have prepared for the blue side. A little less wiggle room there, but very smart draft, no doubt. But guys, we are going to go to a quick break after the highlights, and we'll be back here next time for game number 2.